Hello everyone and welcome back to Just Finish Coding. This is part 3 of our Dodge the Block series on Pygame, so let's get coding.
Just finished coding.
Now quick interjection here, if you've not watched part 1 and 2 of this series, please watch it before you come here because I'm picking up from where I left off in those 2 videos and you'll be very lost. I'll leave a card for you right here. Please watch those 2 videos and then come right back. If you're still here, I'm going to assume that you've watched parts 1 and 2, in which case we should have the spawning set up and ready. And as you can see in the screen in a moment, you will see that the blocks can fall down, and that is pretty much it. So in this video, we'll be adding that, we'll be spicing that up a little bit more. And we'll also be making sure that the paddle cannot move out of the edges. I initially wanted to do this in the last video, but as it turned out, I'd forgotten to do so. And we'll also be making it more like the real game, with one of the blocks disappearing, and also the blocks slowly changing their speed and getting faster each time. So I'm going to start off by simplifying our update method, and as you can see here, we had an unnecessary variable. So we had something called x and we just put it in self.x. So what we can do is just delete that line of code and just say self.x comma underscore is equal to p.mouse.getPos, and this alone is going to save us one line of code. And now we need to make sure that the rectangle doesn't go out of the edge, and to do that, it's actually pretty simple. We can just set up a simple if condition. So now we can say if self.x, and remember, x is now the center of the rectangle. So if this value is is greater than width, which is the extreme right end of the screen, minus 0.5, okay, times 0.5 times self.rect.width, then it means that, well, the rectangle is going out of the stage. And how exactly did I come up with this? Well, the width of the rectangle is not this one, not this width. Well, this width of the rectangle is going to be the entire rectangle. And remember that self.x is only the center of that. So essentially, the stuff to our right is going to be half of that. And because of this exact coordinate is going to be the end of the screen compared to self.x. So if it's greater than that, then all we have to do is set self.x to be this particular number, whatever this might be. And this may be an integer. I'm not entirely sure why it was an integer, given that, you know, our self.rect.width initially proved out to be an integer itself. But what you can do here within your rect.center is just type in int of x, and that should take off any deprecation warnings that might show up. So now we can write another elif in this case, and here it's going to be the exact same way but for our left end. So similarly, I'm going to say if self.x is in this case less than, and now you can just copy and paste this code, which is 0.5 times self.rect.width, and we're just adding 0 to this because 0 is the extreme left, so we just don't even have to put it. And in this case, once again, I will just set self.x to be equal to 0.5 times self.rect.width. Very simple, but this is going to work out. So I'm going to run my program, and you should see that it works. And there you go. Our paddle cannot move out of the edge anymore. Now, perfect. So I'm going to also make sure that the blocks are drawn before the paddle, so that our paddle is before the blocks. I don't think it would really matter given the fact that we are adding collisions pretty soon, but I just like to get this in place. Okay, so now let's go to our blocks, or rather spawn blocks function, and here we need to make sure that one of those 4 blocks randomly is hidden. And what we can do is to set up a variable. I'm going to call it miss is equal to random.randint, and now you have to remember that randint picks up both the values which we're going to enter in as a comma b, and randrange is just going to pick up, you know, the starting value till the last value minus 1. So in this case, when we're using this for loop, I is going to be values 0, 1, 2 and 3, but if we just put in 1, 3 within randint, this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. So this last value is going to be included in rand int, but it's not going to be included in rand range. So we need to put in 0, 3 in order to get this to be the exact same values, one of the 4 values as I. Because if we put in 1, 4, then we'll never have 0 in and we'll have 4, and I just can't be 4, so we'll start to get some bugs. So just type in 0, 3, this should work out for you. And within this, you can just type in an if-then condition. So I'm just going to say if I is not equal to miss, and just so simple, but it's going to do the trick. And I'm going to tab this in and I'm going to run it once again. And you should see that, well, one of our blocks is always hiding. And as our blocks repeatedly spawn, you should see the thing working pretty clearly. And I'm going to stop this before, well, we've seen the output, so I'm going to stop it right there. So now I'm going to start to set up the variable which is going to regulate our speed, and that is going to be called the block speed variable, and I'm going to set it up along with these lists. So after blocks, I'll be setting block speed to be equal to 5 initially, and that's going to be our starting speed, but we're going to get progressively faster. So within your spawn blocks function, you can just go ahead and type in here global. Actually, you don't even have to do that given the fact that we aren't going to set the variable to something before this. And you can just type in, instead of 3, which we set up as our speed, you can just type in block speed. And this should do the trick, assuming that you go down here and every single time you are spawning something new, you just increment it by our function. So I'll say block speed plus is equal to 0.25. And you may be thinking that it's no longer going to be an integer, and Pygame has only, integer coordinates. So by default, it's going to round stuff off. And we can actually fix that one by one. And that is to first go ahead to this block class. And okay, I initially fixed this up. And I set it to be round of self.y, and I want to do int.self.y instead. The only difference would be that 1.666 is going to be set up to 1 instead of 2, and I think that is better in this case, just because I liked it more that way. So let's run the program now, and let's just see if the blocks get faster each time. So that was 5, and yeah, you'd get those things in the edge, but it isn't really too bothering, so I'm just going to leave it that way. And yeah, I clearly see that the blocks are getting a lot faster, and I'm going to stop it. And now let's get into our scoring system. It's pretty easy to set up, and I think I'll be able to finish it in this video itself. So I'm going to set a new variable called score after we set up the block speed, and I'm initially going to set it to be 0. And each and every time we are going to spawn a new block, I'm going to, well, increment the score by 1. So I'm just going to say score plus is equal to 1. And we will have to do a little bit more with this variable, especially when it comes to the thumbnail, which I will be doing in the next few videos, where we'll have to, go right back to the beginning so that we can start the game again. But as of now, it's enough if you just have this in place. And now I'm going to make sure that we can see the score graphically on the screen, because there's no point if we just keep, printing the score onto the console. That isn't really going to help in the viewing experience. So to do that, you can first use a font, and I'm going to just use this font throughout the game. So I'm just going to call it font. And to use this, or to get a font, you just have to type in p.font.sysfont. And first you need to type in the name of the font. I'm going to say Comic Sans in all capital, even if you use the in all lowercase, and even if you use the letter C as capital, there wouldn't really be much of a difference. So first one is going to be Comic Sans, and you can see the parameters appear in a second. Or actually yeah, there we go. So now you need to type in the size of the font, and that's going to be, in my case, 45. And after this, you need to type in something called the Anti-Alias, I believe. I'm not entirely sure what this is, so I'm just going to type in, alright, never mind, that isn't Anti-Alias, it's bold first, and that's an optional parameter. So we'll get into the Anti-Alias when we are using this a little bit later. Just wait, and I'll show you where that is. As of now, just type in true, because we do want the font to be in a bold. and you can add in an additional italic parameter. If you want it to be in italics, you can just type in true, but by default that is going to be false, so you can just leave that as it is. So this is going to be our form. That's all we need to do to set this up. And now we can scroll up and make a new function here, and my function is going to be called showScore. So showScore, and I forgot to type in the def, so def showScore, and not really any inputs here. So I'll be saying first get in some text that we have to blit from that font. So I'll call this score text. So score text is equal to font.render, and this is the method that we need to use. And here we need to type in the text that we need to render. I'm going to call it score followed by a colon. And now is when we need to type in the anti-alias, like I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. So the anti-alias, I'm not entirely sure what this does. I'm just going to type in 1 because this works for me. And as far as the color is concerned, which we'll have to type in next, I'm going to use this bright green color, which this is the RGB code for it. 102 green, 255 red, and 0 blue. That worked pretty well for me, so I'm going to leave it as it is. Next, I'm going to make sure that the score actually gets onto the screen. And to do that, you can just type in win.blit, and we just need to blit the score text. So score text, and where exactly do we want to blit it? Well, I want to do it in the top right. So the top right is going to be about 380, 10. That's going to be the place I want to go. Now I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go down to my main loop, and after I update my block group, I'm just going to call in that method. So show score, and now let's run our program. So there we go. And you can see that our score is set up, and obviously we haven't made sure that the number keeps getting blitted up. And to do that, all you have to do is head over to the function, which I did right here, and along with the string you just need to type in plus str of score, and this just converts the score to a string data type, and the plus performs a concatenation, and thus we will get the score each and every time. So let's run it once again. So score is 1 initially, and I'll tell you how to fix that. That's going to be later on. So you can see that the score just keeps on incrementing, and you might be thinking, well, we set the score to 0, how did it get to 1? And the reason is, when we enter into this loop, it's first going to go right down to this spawn blocks method. And remember, we haven't spawned the blocks earlier, so our blocks are going to be spawned only right here, and the length of the block group is going to be 0. So we will first increment the score, and only then will we spawn the blocks. So initially, if you do set the score to be -1 here, it's going to work perfectly fine, and that may be probably what you want to do. But anyhow, for me, this isn't really going to matter that much, because I'll have a thumbnail function where we will set up the score there. So anyhow, I'm going to leave it with -1, and I'll change the rest in the next video, and we'll also be setting up a high score with text files, but that's for the next couple of videos. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave a like, and also don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.